culture is. I think it is ambitious, maybe as far as naive for professionals to think that the culture can fix people. And I just think it's just not that way, right? So if you hire someone you don't get along with, what is the expectation? That creates such a toxic scenario to start from, even, let alone when we talk about when teams have to start working together that have never worked together before. So in my opinion, there has to be very strong people fit, and then fit into the culture, right? Can that person work with our team? Are they a good fit for this culture? Do they have the right talent? That tends to be how I view it. I can see other perspectives on this 100%, but this has been, mostly based on my individual experience, in the workplace.
So for you, it's talent. Rhonda, by the way, our friend Rhonda here is showing up. She said talent as well, and I think for me, I'm more of a culture guy, but I got to disagree a little bit here. And the reason why I'm more of a culture guy, or did you say you're more people? I'm sorry.
I'm people. Yeah, I'm people.
Yeah. So Rhonda's talent, I'm culture, and you're people. Well, the reason why
this is interesting.
This is great, though. This is why we have Founder Jam, because we're going to disagree on things that we can learn. Rhonda talks about how hiring can mold them. Well, my thing is, if you can hire someone into the culture, if your culture is strong, that will enable you to weed the people out quickly. So there might be a couple people that are going to slip through the cracks that you might hire that you thought fit into the culture, but you'll know right away, and you won't waste any time beyond that. And I once heard slow to hire, quick to fire as a good term for entrepreneurs. So slow to hire, quick to fire.
Yes.
And the reason for that is you want to be really slow in understanding. You kind of want to put someone through the ringer in a as cordial a way possible, and not necessarily not put pressure on them, but you want to do their best analysis of them. And this is maybe where you're coming in with the people aspect of it. So maybe it's overlapping a little bit, but if you can understand them as best as possible, is that person, the people, going to fit into your culture? Because if you have the strong culture, then all of the other stuff, in my opinion, will fall into place. They'll learn the gifts and talents that they need because of the culture around them. They'll either fit in with the people because they fit in with the culture, or they, like I said, they won't. If they slip through the cracks, then you're just going to have to let them go, which is probably a whole nother Founder Jam conversation.
Yeah. No, look, I think you make valid points. I'm coming at it from a perspective of trying to avoid that if possible in the beginning. And I think, we're getting questions like, what do we mean by culture? I mean, I think there's probably a set definition for that someplace, but, we've had things where I've taken over teams where we said the whole company gets in at 8:00 in the morning. Our team, because we work some different hours, 9:30. Well, the team used to come in at 11. Right. And it's like, well, if you want to work on this team, like, we start at 9:30, like, we have meetings with all the stakeholders. The CEO wants a report, like, just a timing thing of like a team culture in that sense. We don't mean, ethnicities, backgrounds, where anyone's from. That's not what we mean by culture at all in this context. So to me, it's what I think of it is this: how many times have you said at work, or people have said about you, not you, Bobby, but other people, like, oh man, I can't believe I have to work with that person. That's, in my mind, what I'm trying to avoid on the upfront as much as possible. It obviously can't be avoided all the time.
Yeah. So Rhonda's talking about here, she said you shouldn't judge a person on their culture when interviewing. We're not judging someone's culture or their family or their history or anything like that. Right. This is the culture in your office, whether it's a virtual office or it's an actual brick and mortar place. It's the culture of the work atmosphere, and does that person fit into that culture? This is not the type of food that they eat, the language they speak, their faith. This is not anything with that type of culture.
Yeah. Here's a perfect example, super quick, is I was working at a cybersecurity company. My role after that was at a men's fashion company. And the question was, would you be a good culture fit? One is e-commerce, subscription, very conservative culture. The next one is more creative, more outside of the box, jeans and t-shirt type of culture, right? So you have everything from the physicality of it to the mentality, to the mentality of the environment. So that's what we mean by culture. That was probably the biggest question. Could you function the same way, perform at the same level in a completely different atmosphere every day?
Yeah, we got someone for talent here. We got another voter for talent, Leanne. Leanne, so why is it talent, Leanne? Let us hear your argument. See what she says, because I think talent for me is something that I always thought was extremely important, but I think I kind of learned that in the past couple of years, that maybe as talented as someone is, if they don't fit in your organization, then I don't know. So maybe Leanne can give us some insight. And once again, this is a community of entrepreneurs, and we're all entrepreneurs, so we'll probably have our own opinions, and we welcome that. So I'm certainly not saying that I know for a fact that this is the best way to do it. What I'm saying, it's just what my experience has been. So anyway, we probably got to get on to question 2. So Leanne,
let's
if you
do
want
it.
to get back,
we're off to a good start, guys. We didn't. Thanks for all the participation. This is great. Well, here we go. Tweeting out question number 2 right now.
Oh, here we go. While you're pumping that out, I'm going to give Leanne's response here. Depending on the job, you're clear hiring for something nobody else can do. Shaping comes after talent. Fair enough. I understand if you have a very micro-focused talent gift or something that you need someone to have, and they're not qualified for it, absolutely. So maybe, Joe, maybe we are skipping over something here. If you're hiring a doctor, and if you have a
PhD in molecular biology, then we'll have to overlook some things.
even if it's a craft or something that you need, so they do need to have the talent. I understand. So Leanne, kudos to you. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's jump over to question number 2. Question number 2 is, bam, perks, compensation, or both. What's most attractive to new hires? I thought this one was good. This was from the other perspective. Now put yourself in the shoes of the hire. What is something that would be a good fit or something that would be attractive to them? Perks, compensation, or both?
What do you think, man? We'll kick it off. Let's turn it over to you.
You want me to kick this one off? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Let's see.
So for me, it's about the cash money, dude. No, honestly, I'm not a. If you know me, I consider myself to be in a situation where, I really am blessed to enjoy the life and lifestyle that I have, and so I don't need a job that pays twice as much as what I'm working in right now. But the ancillary perks and all that stuff, honestly, it makes it too complicated for me. I'd rather make it simple. I used to tell in my other positions in my life, honestly, I used to be not a fan at all of some of the perks, if you will, that we would get. I would say, you know what, just pay me more, and I'll figure out what to do with the money. So in my humble opinion, but in my experience in business, I know there's quite a few people that do appreciate the perks, because sometimes the perks fit their needs so well. It takes the burden off their shoulders. They don't even have to worry about it. Like, oh, I got the perk. I got, the benefits are really good, or I get the fitness center, or whatever it might be. There's food. I don't have to worry about bringing lunch every Friday. They cater in, right? So there's some benefits to that too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think when you first started, it reminded me of something someone told me years ago. He said, "Give me the cash, I'll buy my own perks." He wants to do what he wanted to do with the money, rather than have the company invest it back in perks that he may or may not enjoy. Now, granted, when I challenged him on this, he did enjoy all of the perks of the organization, like free lunch and game room and fitness center, etc. For me personally, I think both, but I think I'm not trying to be too greedy here and say I want all of both. I think it is nice for Let me rephrase it. I think it also depends on the different environment of which you're competing in, right? So I think this stemmed for everybody tuning in and watching. This stemmed from Bobby and I were chatting about where we've worked, and I spent some time in Silicon Valley where at maybe 2010 to 2016, it was all about perks. You would hear some wildly low compensation packages, but phenomenal lunches, breakfast, lunch, dinner, trips, massages, and this wasn't just at Facebook, Apple, Google. This was everywhere because they're competing for talent and trying to offer different ways to incentivize people. Work from home used to be a big deal, right? Or every other Friday off, or 3 Fridays off a month, things like that. So I feel like there's got to be a balance, though. I think it's important for people to have capital, right? So they can plan for their future and be more settled. At the same time, having some amazing lunches. I mean, rock star lunches, guys. Silicon Valley knows how to do it right when it comes to that. So that's kind of where my head is at. It's kind of a balance of both.
So I'll give you. So if I was an employee and I did find out that they had catered lunches in frequently, that, to be honest with you, the way.
But I mean, like really good lunches, man. Like none of my friends in New York City were getting this at like the finance companies or anything. I mean, these were like top chefs, even though it was catered for 80 people. The food, man, was, I mean, rock star food. Really good stuff. Clean eats, comfort food. We could do a whole founder jam on perks.
The way to my heart is through my stomach. I'm not going to mention what special day today is, but again, if there's anyone like my wife listening, who she's not, she's teaching kindergarten right now. If there's anyone listening that I would like a nice meal for my special day. But anyway, that's another story. So I could see that being a perk, something. So I'm eating my words, no pun intended, from what I said about the last question, what I said earlier about not really being into the perks. Food would be nice. Anyway. All right, cool. Let's move it along here. It's question number 3. Let's go to question. It is.
It's live.
Favorite question to ask in an interview. I love this question. This is kind of like
this is a good one. This is a good one.
Whatever you want. So, hit me, Joe. What's yours?
Mine. This was the last question I was asked after 16 hours of interviews when I was interviewing for a role at StubHub, part of eBay, years ago. And after 3 different times on site, whiteboard, strategy, everything, guy was like, hey, the interviewer is like, it's going great. We obviously, really interested. I got one more question for you. And he says, what motivates you every day? And to be honest, it was a very unexpected question. We had talked about everything else: competitors, budgeting, technology, human resources, what type of team we need, partners. We had talked about everything under the sun. And that question really stopped me in my tracks for a second. So for me, I think that was something just interesting, the different types of responses I've gotten adding that question to my interviewing over the years. It's pretty cool to hear what different people are into. So that to me has been the favorite question to ask. It's not where do you see yourself in 5 years, but if that's your favorite question, we're totally okay with that.
No. Mine is, well, there's 2. One is, can you explain to me a time where something went wrong and what you did to fix it? The first time I ever heard that question, I was like, okay, that's kind of cheesy, but I feel like I learn a lot about people if I ask them that question. If they answer what seems to be truly honestly and they explain the situation, it's usually a good sign. If it's, I can't really think of anything's ever gone wrong, that's a horrible sign. But
that goes to weeding out people, like I mentioned earlier. See, everyone was challenging me on people. There you go.
Yeah. But if I get something that's more along the lines of, oh, well, there was a time where the printer was jammed or, something like that, then I know that they're struggling to come up with something, and that's
Yeah.
not a horrible sign. That just could be a personality trait. We need to work there. I need to dig a little bit more. But if I get there was a time where the client called and I had forgotten to send them something and they were really mad and they wanted to return because I messed up, then I'm like, okay, this is a good sign. This person's honest, they're open, they're willing to admit their fault. Like, that's a great sign. So that was one question. And then my other favorite question to ask them, and I ask the guests on my podcast all the time, I ask them this, is like, what drives you and what has brought you to this point in your life? And that's another great psychological question too. And it's similar to what yours is saying, but I like to probe them on the things in their life that they've learned. And it kind of mixes with struggles once again, and I found myself repeating this phrase over and over again recently, but struggles are just hurdles of success. And so when I find someone who says, I've been through this in my life, and this taught me this, and this is why I got here, and this is why I'm here for this interview, because I went through this in my life, it tells me that they have resiliency. It tells me that they care really about their improvement, right? And that they may get discouraged, which is good, which is okay, but they're going to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and they're going to push forward. And I know our buddy Mark Lucini would like this one, right? Because he's all about
and Mark's checking us out right now on IG. So, Mark, if you caught that, man, if you're still watching, brother, feel free to chime in.
That would be the improvement mindset. I know Mark would be into that. So, really, ask someone what drives them in their life at this point. And the key is at this point, right? Because when you were, I don't know, Joe, when you were 10 years old, did you want to, did you wanted to be a professional baseball player or football player or something, right?
I think I wanted to be a fighter pilot or an astronaut, and I turned out I really don't like heights. But I learned that probably 2 years later. I was like, screw this, I need to find a new profession because these roller coasters aren't doing it for me.
Fair enough. So that's what was driving you. So my point is, if I was to bring you in for an interview now, Joe, I'd be like, what drives you in your life now?
Right.
What drives you when you were 10 years old? Because believe it or not, the psychological research on this, we never really lose our childlike mindset. We learn to mask it. We're constantly molding our psyche and our mindset in our life based on the people that we're around and the system. That's why I really believe that a good culture in the office, going back to the other question, a good culture in the office can really shape someone to fit well into your organization. Not that we want to put people in a box, but they can learn the good practices, and kindness is contagious. I've said that a lot again too. But my point is, we never really lose that childlike mindset. So a lot of people, when you ask them that question, in their mind, believe it or not, I do this myself, you ask them that question and they're going to go back to when they were 5 years old and think about what they wanted to be. So when someone asks me that question, to this day, do you like your job? Congratulations on starting a business, Bob. You're doing great. I hope everything goes well. Why do you have the job you have now? Or do you enjoy what you do? I always go back and think about when I was a little kid and I was an only child, spoiled brat. And I always think back to myself as a little kid. I had a poster of Jerry Rice on one wall and a poster of Barry Sanders on the other wall. And when I had no friends on a Sunday afternoon and I was watching football, I must have thrown myself 17,000 passes. And I would throw it up in the air. I'd jump and dive and catch it on my bed like I was winning a Super Bowl. And I always think of that. So I never forget that. So when you're asking someone that question, what drives you, you got to make sure that it's what drives them now, because they're going to think back about when they were a little kid and they wanted to be a professional baseball player, an astronaut, a firefighter, a truck driver, whatever they wanted to be. They're going to think like that. And it's proven. Humans never lose that desire to dream. And I'll hit you with another one. Speaking of my podcast, speaking of impact, we had I think it must have been episode 10 or something, pretty early on in our production. We had the executive director of Food for the Poor on, who happened to be my high school Spanish teacher. his name is Angel Loma. Super excellent at his job. Excellent guy. Just cares about the world and other people so much. He told me a story about when he went back to when he was in, I believe he was in Haiti, or maybe it was the Dominican Republic, but he was in a very poor village, and he was speaking with a man who he felt was a senior citizen. Turns out he wasn't that old. He was just not in great shape. But he told me this on the podcast. He said the man was so upset, and he asked him. He said, "So, sir, what's wrong? Like we just got you some water. You're getting the medical care you need. You should be doing okay." And he goes, "It doesn't matter because I lost the ability to dream." And this poor guy was however old he was, maybe in his 40s, and he didn't have that ability to dream as a young person anymore, because everyone wants to do that, no matter how old you are. So that was really powerful. People will desire to dream like they did when they were a kid.
That was deep, man. That was deep.
give me that brain.
Every week, if you're watching for the first time, we have a moment where it's profound. That's what we're just gonna cut these up as profound moments. That was awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Hey, check it out.
Never stop dreaming, Never stop dreaming.
Give a shout out to Deepak. Deepak here said, "Good job, man."
There you go. All right, man. Excellent.
Deepak, man, good job for chiming in, man. We think it's great. Appreciate the love, brother. Appreciate it. All right, let's hit up the next question, man. I'm out here preaching, and we should be trying to get better as business owners.
Oh, we're loving it, man. Everybody's tuning in. We're getting some great engagement again this week on Twitter. Make sure everybody's following the hashtag. Everyone told us they're on Twitter during the day, so that's why we switched it up. Weekdays, afternoons. That's what they said. But question 4 is out the door. Here we go.
There we go, man. So back to the talent issue. Maybe we can get Leanne and Rhonda to talk about this one.
This is going to heat it up a little.
Bad attitude or bad talent? Which is worse?
Think about this, people. Think about this really hard. People made some good points earlier about talent versus culture, right? Bad talent is tough to deal with, but bad attitude equally is challenging to have to manage.
Well, so Joe, we got to ask you. So, like, coming from someone who deals with it all the time, like every week, once a week now, you deal with someone with bad talent.
This is a loaded question, guys. For the broadcast, we were really stacking the deck on this one. We knew that going in. I was hoping Bobby wouldn't throw this one over my way, but look, I think there has to be a baseline for performance, right? So if the asterisk on this is if the person is meeting minimum levels of competency and performance, whatever it is, whatever role, any industry, then there has to be some amount of talent. Then attitude can be really bad. But what is tough is when someone has a great attitude but zero skill set or competency even to maybe learn. I don't want to say it. It's almost like, can a scientist be an artist? Can an artist be a scientist? I mean, of course they can, but how can someone translate into a totally different skill set if they have a great attitude? I'd say that they probably could. Maybe people could. Maybe people have the willingness. They have a good attitude. They'll have a willingness to improve on skills and performance, or learn new skills and performance. That was a 1-minute answer of a non-answer, if I could ever give it. What do you think, Bobby?
All right, so
you gotta have a good attitude to a degree, but go ahead.
A good attitude is important, and believe me, I try to keep that around all the time to make up for my lack of talent. But this is what I think. Joe, you're an athlete, right?
You're killing me, man. You're killing me this week.
We were all an athlete at one point, and I'm going to bring it back to the sports field again, like I normally do.
I think I know where you're going, because I was thinking of Herm Edwards at the same time.
Well, if we can get Herm to join the show, I would love it. Listen, We play to win the game. And
Right.
and Herm, by the way, I've seen Herm speak. Herm was a speaker at one of my events at my former job.
He's good.
He did a
Man. He's
tremendous
really good.
job.
Yeah.
Super
And
motivating
he talked
guy.
about production. I was going down the production, like you need to produce, but I'm with you on the play to win the game. It's both. Yeah. That's where my head went.
It is about production for sure. But so speaking of, and he might have said this to somebody because it was definitely in the football world. But in most team sports, we have this thing called KYP. I don't know if you ever heard of this.
No.
KYP stands for Know Your Personnel.
Oh,
And
interesting.
you got to understand who's around you on your team and the skills and talents that they have. And it's vitally important that people have a baseline skill. So with that assumption, though, I think we can control how our team fits based on their talents and their skills. What you can't control and what will take you down, no matter what situation is a bad attitude. It doesn't matter how good you are or how perfect you may fit in everywhere else. If you got a lousy attitude, that is a team breaker. And you just tweeted out, kindness is contagious. And believe me, it is. I've learned that in spades over the past 6 months. But a bad attitude, that is viral. I mean, you take the bad attitude.
That's going out on the Twitter feed.
Yeah, you throw that one out. We don't need any bad attitudes. KYP, know your personnel, fit the talent where it fits on your team. Believe me, if I had 6 people right now that I could hire tomorrow and they all had to get a good attitude, I'd take that in a heartbeat over the one person with a lousy attitude who has an amazing education or whose resume is 16 pages long. Talents are great. Attitude is vital.
That was a much more eloquent way of answering the question than my 1 minute gibberish that came out.
Now, listen, you teed me up, man. You teed me up to go on a rant again. So, all right, let's hit up. Now that I'm done ranting, let's hit up another question.
All right, we have one more, I think, lined up before. Okay, we got your quote out the door. We got some cool human resource Twitter handles, Twitter profiles.
You're
mentioning
firing
us
out
today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yep, question 5. Go for it, man.
Yeah, man. Well, and before I recite question 5, though, yeah, you're tweeting out a storm up here, man. So if you're on the feed here and you're not watching, following on the Twitter stream, I know everyone's got their own platform of preference, but there are some golden nuggets going out there on the Twitter feed.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 5. Which is more challenging, competing with big companies or finding quality people? Competing with big companies or finding quality people? I'm going
to be honest with you. I feel like all of these questions should be interview questions for hiring new talent.
Yeah.
Like we have 5 questions. This should be some of the questions our HR friends who've been joining in add these to the list because these are pretty intense and can become fairly complex. It's up to you, man. Where do you want to go? You or me?
I can start on this one. Competing with other big companies is hard, but I believe that there is an overwhelming amount of talent that's undiscovered. And
interesting. Okay.
I think there's a lot of people out there who you don't expect and who just don't. They just need a swift kick in the pants. They need a little motivation. They need to believe in themselves a little bit more. They just haven't had the exposure. And just like anything, confidence is also habitual. So if you find the right person, they're flying under the radar. So there's people out there. So I honestly think competing with big companies I'm not too worried about that. I think finding the right people is important. You got to get out there. If you want to hire someone, it's just like finding a new client. You got to work just as hard to find the right hire to find a new client these days.
That's true.
So how do you do that? That's for another founder jam. We don't have time for that. But I will say it's harder to find the right people than it is to pry the other people away from a big company.
Interesting. Yeah. I think in a way it's like competing with big companies is sort of like the default landscape. I almost think of it as like we kind of all know what they offer, depending on the size of the businesses, of the people chiming in today. But, the big companies have the benefits package, the 401ks, right? So you have your health, you have your medical package, you have your financial package. After that, depending on the type of work, the work itself can be pretty much the same, whether you're at a company with 50 people, 200 people, or 10 people. And so that's where I think what you're saying about finding the right people becomes really critical. The work is the same. If the small business can offer a way to compensate for not being in a big company with different types of packages, but there's great small business options now around medical insurance, especially in different states. Different things are allowed in different states for all of you watching. That's something I learned recently. Same thing financially. There's different options, different places. So, and there might be other perks, right? Different perks like we talked about. So in my mind, we're always competing against big companies for talent. In a way, it might be harder competing against other small companies who have great culture, great people, they're involved in the community, some really intangibles that, a big history, right? If you're a small business or a medium business in a certain, different areas, if you're a new company competing with a business been there 25 years, that's tough. That's a tough market. So yeah, I think I agree with you. Just we are saying the same thing. We both agree, but for me, it's a different perspective on trying to find the quality people as being the most challenging.
That's cool. All right, we're 45 minutes into Founder Jam 7. I feel like this was a good move to Wednesday. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think. Look, we took everyone's feedback, right? I think it makes a lot of sense. We initially thought, let's finish the week strong, and we found people were engaging with us after the shows on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on DMs and text messages, quite a bit. So, and their feedback was bring it earlier in the week when we're at our desk, when we're on our phones at lunch, see how that goes. I think that's proving to be a really good fit. And it gives us the rest of the week to promote everything that happened today, which I don't know if you wanted us to chat a little bit about some of the changes we've implemented for moving forward. But yeah, I think Wednesdays feel like a good fit.
Yeah, man, it's been good. So Wednesdays, it's going to be Wednesdays from now on, ladies and gentlemen. If you're on the IG, appreciate you hopping on. I've seen people going in and out. Love you guys.
Yeah.
If you want to participate in the show, you got to hop on the YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Periscope. You got to hop on those to participate in the chat. So love you guys though in the IG. Joe, let's talk about Girls with Code. You hear me? Oh, looks like we're losing the feed. There we go. So yeah, let's talk about Girls with Code. Who code?
Yeah, this is great. Can you guys hear me? You got the audio? This good? We're still connected? Cool. Okay. Yeah, so look, this is really exciting. We were able to connect with Girls Who Code, and we are going to support them for the next month with our fundraising. And it's really this simple, right? Bobby and I want to use this platform to raise awareness for great causes. It's that simple, right? So we're going to see some more stuff on LinkedIn, more stuff on Instagram, where we can help fundraise for a great organization. For the next month at least, it's going to be Girls Who Code, helping get girls, women, teens into the job marketplace, learning skills, and it's education, right? They can't take away your education. That's what everyone says. And so this is tremendous. And Bobby's just put it up here. We're looking to get 100 retweets, likes, comments, shares across LinkedIn and Twitter. Bobby and I can each make a donation of $100. That's not what this is about. This is about trying to get this to scale. If Bobby and I make a contribution, that's great. We're trying to raise awareness so that tens, hundreds, thousands of people can make a contribution, and then we're making a real significant impact. So that's what we're trying to do with this, especially after COVID. Bobby, anything you want to share on this? I mean, this is like, I know we're both so passionate about this. We need to do a better job at it each week. That's what we've heard from people. They're really excited by it, and we're going to do that.
Yeah. No, so the thing that I have to say about it is that I look back in my life, and I know there's been certain situations and blessings that I've had. People have done things for me to put me in a position to learn something, to get a job, to move, to be in a position to develop a relationship that I wouldn't have. And we want to give back a little bit. We want to support causes that are going to help young people be in a better situation professionally as they grow. We want them to learn. And we found that this organization is doing that very, very well. And so that's really what Joe is saying.
That's right.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to raise, it's not just funding, but it's awareness for causes like this. Because I think the better we can treat young people and the better we can educate people, the better off we'll all be as time passes. As time moves on, we move into the next generation. The more people that are educated and forward thinking, the better situation we'll all be in. And that's really part of the reason why we even started Founder Jam. And we could do Founder Jam without supporting a cause, and we might be able to make a great impact. But we also want to give back a little bit. And it's not just the dollars, it's the awareness of the cause and helping people realize in their life, what are the things that have put me in the position to be successful? Ask yourself that question.
Absolutely. And look, by taking 2 seconds to hit the like button, it sounds so simple, but that then shares it across your network. Yeah. Right. For everyone watching, right? Shares it across your network, and more people see it and more people see it. And it creates this network effect. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a movement each week. So we're going to put out some other tweets and LinkedIn posts for everyone to engage on and raise awareness, then combine it, as Bobby is saying, with action and empowering people to help other people. And that's what we're all doing as entrepreneurs. Every entrepreneur, of course, is trying to put food on their table, but they employ people. They support other businesses. It's about helping others. Someone has to buy your product at the end of the day. So you're providing value back. And that's what we're trying to do here, is provide that value back to the community. Super pumped about this. I mean, this is great. This is what it's all about.
Cool, man. Let's do it. So let's get some awareness out there. Let's get things going. Appreciate you all once again. Founder Jam 7. We'll see you for Founder Jam 8 next week. Once again, remember, if you're not following us on the other channels, specifically Twitter, so you can be part of the chat, please hop on there. Give us some love. 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays moving forward, 12 p.m. West, 1 or 2 in between. Let us know if you got an expert, someone you want to be on the show. You're like, you know what, that would be helpful to an entrepreneurial community. Hit us up at BDPA or at Joseph J. Nolan. And then also, if you have a cause, like we were just talking about, that you really care about, hit us up with that too, so we can figure it out. Let me know. And I appreciate you all. Keep following our information. Hit me up if you want to be a beta reader for my book coming out. Hit Joe up if you got marketing questions. We are fired up about Founder Jam, and we'll catch you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.